So hello and welcome to episode 186 of SelfKind with me, Erica Webb. Today I want to do something a little bit different and talk to you about 3 of the best decisions I think I have made in 2022. So how are you, friends? As I mentioned, episode 186, and we are mid-December as this episode is going live. And as is often the case in this period of time in the year, I've been thinking back a little bit about the year that has been, and of course thinking forward to the year that is ahead. And as I was thinking about the year that has been, I kind of did the normal human thing of sort of thinking about some of the bigger challenges that I had through the year. And then I very intentionally got to thinking about the things that were kind of like my best decisions, some of the things that really felt like they changed things for me for the better and in kind of interesting ways. And so I thought I would share those with you. Now, one of the things that I want to mention is that, yes, my brain definitely went to the challenges first. And when I say that I consciously kind of thought about what are the things that I'm kind of excited about or the things that I'm really pleased that I did, that wasn't to negate the things that were hard. So I am absolutely not about pushing away the hard things and just being like, they don't exist, it's all fine. I absolutely have spent some time acknowledging those too, and I think I'll probably spend some more time doing that, because to me that's a huge part of developing this capacity for self-kindness and self-compassion. It's actually looking at look at the hard things, right? Look at the hard things that I have done or been through or am experiencing so that I can have more compassion for my state and how I am. So that's not to negate any of the hard things that have been going on, and there have been plenty, but I have thought, about some of the things that I did through the year. And I think there's 3 things in particular that have been real standouts, and they might not be what you expect actually. So my 3 best decisions this year, and I'm going to go through each of them and then I'm going to go back to them and sort of talk a little bit about why. And I think they're going to surprise you a little. So the first one was starting my basketball team. The second one was going back to wearing contact lenses. And the third one's probably not such a surprise, but it was my solo trip to LA. So let's go back to point 1, starting my basketball team. Now, playing basketball is not something that I have really ever done. I think I may have done a season when I was a little girl, probably in grade 4. So I was probably 9 or 10 years old. And both of my children play basketball. They both play a couple of teams. And I would watch on the sidelines and be like, this is just the most fun. I love watching the kids play, but I really wanted to be on the court. And so I just sort of started putting my feelers out there and kind of mentioning it to a few other mums. And there were a couple who were like, I would love to do that too. And so once I had enough, curiosity sparked in other people, I was like, maybe we should totally actually do this, and started a team. Now, there's a few reasons why this has been a really big highlight for my year. And one of them is simply because I chose to follow my curiosity. I chose to follow my joy for no other reason than because I wanted to, right? I received no real benefit beyond connection with the women that I'm playing with, joy from being on the court, and the challenge of learning something new. And I say I received no other benefit, but as an adult, sometimes the benefits that we're looking for are very tangible, right? Like, am I going to save time? Am I going to save money? Am I going to make money? Am I going to, have some sort of like tangible outcome from this? And simply because it's fun isn't always very high on our list. And so for me, starting this basketball team was this vote in favor of joy and of learning something new and of being kind of like unapologetically obsessed with something that is completely out of the norm for me. Like, I've become obsessed. Not necessarily just with playing, but I love watching it. I like going to the games. We've been going into the city to watch games and I absolutely love it. So yes, a vote for just absolute fun, right? Joy, learning something new. So that is my first best decision of 2022. My second one is going back to wearing contact lenses. So if you've been around for any amount of time, I realize as a podcast, if you've got this just in your ears, you probably don't see my face all that often, but glasses have always been a very big part of like, my look, to put that in quotes. I've worn glasses since I was very early 20s and have worn them all the time. I had a stint back in my 20s when I wore contact lenses, and then I stopped, I think when I had kids, because my eyes were always sore from being awake all the time. And so my kids are now like 8 and 10 years old, and glasses had become such a significant part of almost my brand, right? Like I was a glasses wearer. I wore quite big glasses and they were part of kind of my look. I was so used to being the glasses wearer. And then it was actually when I started basketball, I was like, I think I need contacts for this sport because I don't want to be running around with glasses on my face that were constantly slipping down and I can't see if I don't have them on. So we're going to go back to contact lenses. And I thought that I was just going to wear them every now and then, but I've worn them pretty much every day since. And I love it. I love it. And the thing about this one, and I think this has probably been my most surprising best decision of 2022, is that somehow I feel more myself without my glasses on. And somehow I feel a sense of, I don't even know exactly what to term it, but I feel really proud of myself maybe for like just questioning the way things have always been. And it's such a simple example of that, right? Like in the grand scheme of things, whether I wear glasses or contact lenses really makes very little difference to anyone. And, either way I can see, so life is good. But this idea of like just questioning, well, that's how I've always done it, was huge for me because I think we get so stuck in that sometimes of just like, well, this is what I've always done. Is this even what I want anymore? Is this even what, I enjoy? Does this fit my life? Does this fit what I need right now? And so for me, going to contact lenses was like, again, a vote in the direction of my own pleasure, my own joy, my own experience. And it has been awesome. The other thing that's really significant about this, and this is kind of like a funny one, I don't know if you'll be able to relate to this. I would love you to let me know if you can. I have, and I've recorded some podcast episodes about this, but they'd be pretty old now. I have often not been recognized in my life. So I'm one of those people who can walk through a shopping center and walk past several people that they know, and those people will not see me. They will not recognize me. I just have one of those faces that blends into a crowd, and take off my glasses, and that made that situation more problematic. So people who I knew very, very well would see me and be like, they'd need a minute to like place who I was, because without the glasses, I wasn't as recognizable to them as myself. And I knew this going into taking glasses off, putting contact lenses in. I still remember the first night of basketball. I was wearing contact lenses and a couple of the women who were playing with me arrived at the court, and I did my hi, waved at them and said hello. And it took them like a good minute to figure out who I was. And they actually said to me, oh, I didn't even recognize you without your glasses. And I am not going to lie, having people not recognize me I have a bit of a complex about it. I have a little bit of, I do have some anxiety around it because I'm also not that great at just being like, hey, it's me. I feel kind of uncomfortable sometimes. I've gotten better at that. But because I knew that taking my glasses off was going to make me less recognizable, I'm even more proud of myself for doing it, because I have to be brave and just be like, hey, it's Erica. Or, hello, how you going? Give people that time to place me, right? Give myself, be willing to sit in that discomfort of not being recognized for a moment and just be okay with it, because my comfort and my joy in not having glasses on my face matters to me at this point. So, like I said, a kind of unlikely, unexpected best decision of 2022, but it has been wonderful. Like the freedom that I feel in not having glasses on my face has been really awesome. That doesn't mean that I never wear them. I do still wear them and I still love them, and I may well go back to being full-time glasses wearer at some point in the future, but it is definitely up there with, embracing change. And it's a small example, but I hope that in in sharing this and, the other two on my list, that you can similarly look at your own year and your own life and the choices that you've made and celebrate some of those things that appear to be quite small, but are actually potentially really big votes in favor of the person that you are, right? And embracing more of yourself. So the third one, not such a surprise, but my trip to Los Angeles, to the US. This one was one of my best decisions, even though since returning, I have felt a little flat, which is interesting. And I haven't quite figured out exactly why that is yet. But maybe it's just, the high and then kind of re-emerging back into sort of ordinary life, even though I love my life. But when I made the decision to go to Los Angeles, it was for a business conference with my coach, Shante Cofield, the movement maestro. And it just seemed like such a ridiculous thing to do. Like just such a ridiculous thing to do. To fly all the way from Australia to the US to attend a 2-day conference and meet a bunch of people that I knew on the internet. It seemed completely crazy, but I had zero doubt in my gut that it was the right thing to do, or it was a good thing for me to do. And I've recorded a podcast specifically about that, so I won't go into too much detail about that part of things, but I went because it mattered to me. And there were some logistical issues. There was some, just the fact that the Australian dollar was completely tanked compared to the American dollar when I went there. Like there were challenges. There were things about it that, objectively didn't make a lot of sense. But from a subjective point of view and from, again, that moving towards myself perspective, one of the best decisions I've ever made. But because it helped me to get closer to and more curious about myself. So the conference was about business. For me, it wasn't. Like for me, that trip had very little to do with very specific sort of tangible business things. And it had everything to do with choosing myself and choosing my joy again and choosing to understand myself better and choosing to face those parts of me that were perhaps kind of uncomfortable, like the fear and the anxiety that absolutely overwhelmed me for a couple of days at the start of my trip. And yeah, I almost don't have the words for exactly how this one was such a big decision, but it was a big decision again because I chose myself. I chose myself even when objectively it would have been easier not to. And so they're my best 3 decisions of 2022. There were probably some more in there. I've done lots of cool things. I've said yes to a lot of really awesome things this year. There's been a lot of really trying moments as well. And celebrating the joys is just so valuable. It's so valuable. So I think sometimes when we look back on a year, I know there's a lot of talk at the moment about 2022 kind of being this year where we're all like, everything's going to be amazing in 2022. And then it's kind of been hard in a lot of ways for the collective and each of us as individuals. And yet I think when I reflected on, these decisions that I've made, like I said, the small things matter. The small things really matter. And so taking the time to reflect on those and to meet yourself with gratitude, I think is so incredibly valuable and important. So I hope that is interesting on some level to you. Like I said, a little bit of a different episode than maybe I've done in the past. But I felt like hopefully it would be some interesting food for thought for you, and certainly was interesting for me to reflect on. So come share with me. I always love to hear from you. You can come and find me over on Instagram. That is where you'll find me most frequently. I'm at Erica Webb _SelfKind. And yeah, I would love to hear what you are reflecting on from this past year, whether it be the hard things or, those decisions that you're like, yes, Good job, me. So proud of myself. So until next week, I will look forward to hearing from you. Have an awesome week and keep being kind to yourself.